The station for news and talk. KVNU 610 AM and 102.1 FM.
KVNU News Time is 5:03. I'm Bill Walter with this news update brought to you by Logan Extermination. On KVNU Speak to the Mayor program last week, Logan Mayor Holly Daines continued to sing the praises of the new Logan Library building downtown, located at 285 North Main Street. The ribbon cutting was held on March 4th, and on that first day, Daines said they had over 2,400 people come through to check it out, and about 300 at the ribbon cutting. People wonder from time to time why the library is not on the county-wide system.
Let me say that Logan voters, remember when there was the county-wide, it was a ballot initiative. It was put on the ballot to see if everyone valley-wide wanted to pay a portion, and then the whole system would have received funding. And
That's right.
Logan residents actually voted in favor of a countywide system, but it narrowly failed overall throughout the county.
The mayor said what is impressive with the new library, with it going vertical and having 3 stories, it takes up a smaller footprint. So they were able to create more parking spaces, as well as a larger plaza out front that has beautiful public art. The mayor said also in another topic that we dodged the bullet last year when it came to flooding after a record year of snow. However, she said the watershed this year is still at 124% of normal,
which is close to as high as it was last year. Now, last year we had the perfect scenario as far as temperatures, and it came down slowly, and we really had almost no flooding. We were prepared with sandbags and everything else. It's like we hope we have a good scenario again this year because
it's been pretty warm.
Yeah, I mean, maybe at some point we'll have to go back into flood preparation mode.
And she said if that were the case, spring cleanup, which the city has stopped doing, would have to be put off anyway, like it was last year. KVNU News Time is 5:05. KVNU weather tonight, 30% chance of snow showers and rain showers this evening, mostly cloudy, low in the upper 20s. Chance of snow showers Tuesday morning, then rain and snow showers in the afternoon, 70% chance, little or no snow accumulation, high in the mid-40s. Partly cloudy Wednesday, around 50 degrees for the high. It's been to 44. It's 38 right now at KBNU. If you're a do-it-yourselfer, your locally owned Napa Auto Parts is a good place to know, with all the best brands like Amsoil, Schaefer, Croyle, Seafoam, and BG. Gold winner Best of Northern Utah contest for Auto Parts Store. Locally owned, 5 locations of Napa Auto Parts from Preston to Providence.
Edward, spring's almost here. Will you please call Logan Extermination to come prune the trees?
I think I'm going to save some money and do it myself. It can't be that hard, can it? There you go. My masterpiece.
Ew, that's hideous. I'm going to call the pros at Logan Extermination. Hopefully it's not too late.
Don't make the same mistake as Mr. Scissorhands. Call Logan Extermination today and get a jump on tree pruning. Logan Extermination, 752-8450.
KBNU News Time is 5:06. Hundreds of guests enjoyed Lagoon on its opening day, but a springtime storm kept the amusement park closed 24 hours later. Park officials shared on social media that the inclement weather prevented them from opening on Sunday, the second day of their opening weekend. They shared that the season passport office would be open until noon for those wanting to take season passport photos. According to Lagoon's current 2024 schedule, they plan to be open on weekends only until the last week of May. In 2023, the amusement park postponed their opening date twice due to unseasonably high snowfall. They ultimately opened on April 8th of last year. Gabe Madsen sank 7 3-pointers, scored a career-high 31 points. Devon Smith notched his 4th triple-double of the season, and the Utah Utes cruised to a 91-82 victory over Iowa in the second round of the NIT tournament. And again, the big story locally in sports, University of Washington has hired Utah State's Danny Sprinkle as its men's basketball coach today, hoping his success at smaller schools and lineage to the university can revitalize that program as it moves into the Big Ten starting this next season. KBNU News Time is 5:08. For more details on these and other stories, visit CashValleyDaily.com.
Living room, bedrooms, bathrooms, kitchen, family room, laundry room, mudrooms, and more. Deciding what flooring goes best in each room of your home can be a decision fiasco. Hart Floor Company helps people just like you make those decisions every day. Whether you're building or remodeling, Hart Floor Company will show you ideas with stunning designs and sensible solutions to fit your lifestyle. Whether it's carpet, vinyl, tile, LVT, or hardwood, make sure you visit Hart Floor Company at 390 North 10th West in Logan.
Disasters don't wait for a convenient time. When the unexpected strikes, call the trusted team at Blue Sky. Remember, Blue Sky is that same great ARS team you know and trust.
This is Tom with Blue Sky Restoration. When disaster strikes, whether it's a flood, fire, mold damage, or an unforeseen accident, Blue Sky will clean up, repair, and restore your home or business like it was before. No disaster is too big or too small. For all your restoration needs, you can trust our Blue Sky team.
Spring is here and new deals are blooming at Murdoch GMC Chevrolet Cadillac. Pick your new car at our spring sales event. Everything feels new in spring, so pick a Murdoch GMC and drive renewed. Receive up to 2.9% for 6 years on a new Sierra 1500 or up to $10,000 off a new Sierra 1500 SLT. When you walk through our doors, you feel like family at Murdoch Chevrolet GMC Cadillac in Logan or online at murdochchevroletlogan.com. GMC, we are professional grade.
Call 866-628-3065 to see dealer for complete details. Offer expires 4/1/24.
We are there in your community. Small business owners, mechanics, police officers, homemakers. And we are there serving our nation in the Air Force Reserve. When medical emergencies arise, in cybersecurity, when natural disasters happen, we are there in space. We are Reserve Citizen Airmen, and we are there with over 180 different jobs to serve your country. Air Force Reserve.
Welcome back to KVNU's For the People. And we don't do sports a lot here on the show. That's right next door right now. In fact, Eric and Jason Walker, Eric France and Jason Walker, Full Court Press running the same time as us. I miss them coming in after us on KVNU, but I'm glad they got their own 2-hour gig now, same time as us on the Fan, if you want to check in with that occasionally as well. And I'm sure this is what they're talking about right now, but it's been interesting to see the reaction online to the news. For those who missed the news, Bill just told you, actually, that breaking, not really, Danny Sprinkle, Coach Danny Sprinkle, leaving Utah State University for Washington State, probably the worst-kept secret in the college sports world, I think.
Well, it first came out, 2 weeks ago is when I heard his name associated with Washington.
Yeah, that's when
the Washington Press was
kind of hinting that an offer had been made.
Well, they were basically saying that he was the leading candidate, that the job was his if he wanted it. So to me, that means, they offered it.
They made it official, and but the rumors have been circling for more than a month that he was out. I don't know. It happens every year, but the reaction has been interesting. Utah lawmakers weighed in on this one a bit because So a handful of Utah lawmakers are what the kids refer to as very online, meaning they tweet a lot. They're posting on Facebook. They're seeing what others are posting throughout the day in the middle of Monday. And some of the reaction to this kind of started to come down on, Utah State University being a publicly funded university like the others here in Utah as well, outside of BYU. People were coming down on them saying, this is pretty high coaching turnover. And again, you can't blame the coaches, especially in the case of Sprinkle, I think. He has family ties there. I
think he's from Washington State, although not Seattle. I can't remember the city, but he is from
Washington State
originally.
That's and a 6-year deal with them worth $22 million plus.
Well, you're in the Big Ten Conference.
Yeah, you're in the Big Ten.
Pac-12's done, and Washington and Oregon moving to the Big 12.
Yeah, and I also think that it's easy to forget this is. I mean, we would all love to be in this situation, right? Like, oh, should I take the $22 million job offer? But, that would be so difficult, right? But at the same time, it is hard for coaches to make these decisions. They get attached to a team. They get attached to the players. They're proud, especially this year. Sprinkle, I'm sure, looking at Utah State's season and just, I mean, talk about going out on a high note, right? I mean, it didn't. It could have played out even better, sure, but a pretty decent season for Utah State.
Oh yeah,
and so
considering, I mean, some of the players were with him at Montana State, but he pretty much had to construct.
Yeah, he built this.
He put a new team together because pretty much everybody else left.
Sure, and young enough that next season, roughly the same team. Close, at least. So,
we'll see.
Yeah, well, yeah. I guess I shouldn't say that because we've got some offers there too. But yeah. Anyway, it's a good. The basketball program is looking good right now, and he's departing, and you can't blame him. So all that aside. What kind of played out today is people started piling on this handful of state lawmakers saying, why don't we better fund our state universities so that in the athletics program there isn't such high turnover. And Utah State is an example of some pretty high turnover. Bill and I were talking during the break. Refresh me here, Bill. Football coaches over the last 6 years, we're on our fourth.
Is
that right?
Basketball.
Or I'm sorry, basketball.
Yeah, this will be fourth in a little over 6 years.
6 years.
Utah State will be looking to hire their fourth.
And in the football program, some
a little more stability.
A little more stability there, but still some turnover the year. And the argument people were making is, look, if the schools here in Utah could offer more, we'd see these programs with consistent coaching staff build up, and then we'd be top of the brackets towards the end of March in basketball, and they're not wrong, but lawmakers. Getting involved in this, and three of the lawmakers involved in this are former Aggies, and they kind of they started discussing this, and they said the first thing that one lawmaker said that I really agree with is, look, this when it comes to state decisions for funding for universities, this can't be the top priority. The role of a university is broad. And athletics just a part of it. And so when it comes to the state deciding how much they're going to appropriate of the state budget to the public colleges each year, there are far more pressing concerns. And so athletics is going to come in fourth, maybe even fifth in the list of concerns for state funding going up or down. But I think really important point that one state lawmaker made, Senator Todd Weiler, said, look, do you know how much money you're talking about to compete? I mean, if you're talking about taxpayer funds to universities to allow them to compete in the coaching environment that exists today in college athletics, And we're not just talking men's basketball and football. We're talking women's basketball and football, women's basketball, volleyball. There are some competitive coach acquiring strategies or schemes, as this lawmaker said, out there. And everyone trying to compete and attract talent away and keep, and if you're talking about, so Weiler said, okay, what if we put this on the ballot and ask Utah voters, would you like us to start prioritizing public funds for universities based on being able to retain good coaches for longer, to compete with some of the bigger schools? And let's say voters said yes. Now, it wouldn't require putting that on the ballot. He was just creating a hypothetical. The lawmakers could just vote and do that each year in the appropriations process. He said, okay, so let's say voters approve that. Voters say yes. We poll the public, and voters say, yeah, we want you to do that. He said, let's start talking dollar amounts. And so Weiler started going through some of the offers that had been made in just recent years between schools competing to either keep their coaches or attract coaching talent away from other schools. And he started putting a dollar amount on it. And you are talking in Utah, a couple of $2 billion a year is what you'd be talking. And that ain't going to fly. But I think there's a broader point here, and some of the other lawmakers in this discussion made this point as well, that, and Bill, you brought it up too, like a lot of this funding is kind of more of a donor thing. And some of these schools have some cachet with some big donors, and that pool is small. The pool of donors like that is small, in contrast, especially with the number of universities you're talking about. And so then you'd have a competitive environment there. Like, how are you going to attract these big donors who are giving to other schools away to Utah State University? It's just an impossible environment. And so one way that you could kind of capture all of this is to say there are always going to be schools with amazing coaching staff, amazing athletics programs, teams that are just, really getting a lot of attention and having a great season, and they're still going to be kind of a springboard for a lot of these coaches to some of these offers that you would be dumb to say no to.
And some of it is the conference that you're in. The Big Ten conference, unfortunately, is much more attractive than the Mountain West as a whole.
Sure. And what you'd have to do to change that is, good luck. But yeah, the Big Ten it's the Big Ten.
Yeah. And some are thinking that eventually all you'll have is the Big Ten and the Southeast Conference, and they'll have all the top teams, and they'll absorb the Big 12 and the ACC. But who knows if that's going to happen? But it's it's a super major conference.
Yeah, that's. And I really like this. So one lawmaker, to kind of put a bookend on this, one lawmaker here in Utah said, look, there is nothing wrong with being these schools and being these athletic programs. You have talent come in and cut their teeth sometimes. Newbies with a great skill that would otherwise they aren't going to be out of the gate brought in at one of the Big Ten schools. And so there wouldn't be an avenue for if everybody was a Big Ten school. We're talking about Big Ten from the point of view of what Bill just said, the pool of donors they have, the money they can generate for the athletics programs to attract and retain coaching staff. If everybody's a Big Ten school, nobody's taking any risks. And taking those risks is what has at times made Utah State athletics what it is. And I thought that was such a unique perspective that we get caught up in this sometimes. Like, I get it. Great season for men's basketball. Sprinkle, I think, deserves a lot, all of the credit he gets as a good coach. You can't blame him for moving on to with this offer and this location and moving into the Big Ten. I don't think you blame any coach for that. But it doesn't. I don't think this takes away from Utah State.
Well, it shows that they have a lot. They hire good coaches.
Yeah.
And to me, I think in the short term that would help recruiting.
You would think,
because
right?
you'll get noticed, and the coach may not stick around very long, but
yeah,
but
you as a player,
yeah,
that's an opportunity. Knowing that you have a school with a reputation for good coaches, as you said, Bill, even if the coach is only there 2, 3 years, 4 years, 5, you get that opportunity to get in and play in a program that's going to get you noticed, and that's going to be a lot harder to do in the Big Ten. And I don't know. I think it was a great point. State lawmakers saying, look, this is what makes USU as the primary point of discussion during this today. This all took place on Twitter, by the way. If you want to see it, I can link to some of it. But state lawmakers saying, look, I think this is what makes USU unique. I think this is what makes Utah unique because of USU's influence. Think of the names of players and the names of coaches that wouldn't have gotten the start they did anywhere else at the time they did, other than Utah State, that are now a big part of this, even professional sporting world. And I think that's an excellent point. There is nothing wrong with being what Utah State is when it comes to both the coaching world and the world of the players out there. So keep that in mind. I know people are a little frustrated when this stuff happens, but maybe it's kind of a cool thing. 753-5868 if you want to weigh in. We'll do a little sports here on For the People. Don't tell the guys in the studio next door. Jason and Eric will come over here and shut us down. We'll be back right after this.
Devotion to country, service to Utah. Brent Orrin Hatch had a front row seat watching his father serve our state faithfully in the Senate. A constitutional conservative and lifelong Republican, Brent Orrin Hatch is a champion for the rule of law. He's running for Senate to stop this lawless president from destroying our country from within. Hatch will fight to secure the border once and for all and take on Mexican drug cartels to halt the flow of deadly fentanyl. Brent Orrin Hatch knows the national debt is just as big a threat to national security. Hatch won't rest until the budget's balanced and won't cave to the big spenders in both parties. Pro-life, deeply committed to religious liberty, rock-solid Utah conservative. Brent Orrin Hatch for Senate. Paid for by Conservative Outsider PAC, which is responsible for the content of this advertising. Not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee. www.copac.us.
Tuesday edition, Clay Travis, Buck Sexton Show. Continued fallout, Trump legal peril. We'll give you the absolute latest on that. Plus, Buck.
Whatever happened to Bidenomics? You're not hearing a lot about it these days, probably because the American people are very concerned about the trajectory of this country on all things economy. We'll discuss what's really going on and how Trump can capitalize on Clay and Buck.
10 to 1 on News Talk KVNU, 102 FM and 610 AM.
Welcome back to KVN News For the People. A rare thing here, talking sports on For the People. Don't tell Jason and Eric, who are right
the layman's approach.
Yeah, they're right next door in their studio doing the Full Court Press show on 106.9 The Fan. So don't tell them we're stealing their content today. But there was a Utah.
They might be talking politics.
Yeah, they might be talking politics. Maybe they saw the same argument play out on Twitter, and they're now talking politics over there. We should find out, actually. Stay off our beat, guys. They can't hear me. So the political angle to this is Utah lawmakers weighing in on some people piling on them today, saying, in short, look, if state lawmakers funded universities better here in Utah, we wouldn't be seeing the coaching turnover we do at USU. State lawmaker responding and getting me to side with him. Like, look, there's nothing wrong with being the athletics program that USU is, regardless of which specific sport you're talking about. This is a school known for hiring talent, for recruiting talent, and just because it doesn't last 10 years doesn't take away from that. I'm paraphrasing, but an excellent point. So, listener chiming in here, and Bill, you'll love this comment. Our friend Brad, frequent commenter via the chat. You can chat with us using Google Chat. We're KVNU FTP on Google Chat. You can also email your comments in at kvnuftp@gmail.com. And Brad weighing in here saying, Stu spoiled us. That's why people make these comments. And that's an excellent point. And Bill and I were discussing this. Stu was an anomaly in the coaching world. There aren't a lot of coaches.
Stu wanted to be here, and he wanted to stay at Utah State.
Yeah, and he got offers.
Yeah,
and he just said, "Man, no thanks."
He didn't want. I don't. The impression I got, and what other people have told me, is Stu did not like in the bigger conferences, the bigger cities, a lot more media scrutiny, too much spotlight. He didn't like that. He liked Cache Valley. Yeah. Occasionally, he'd have to deal with the Salt Lake media, but mostly just
he and Al talking
here.
Basketball. Yeah, he and Al Lewis talking basketball. I mean, Stu said that himself. I'm comfortable here. I like this here, and Stu was criticized. I remember over the years, people felt like he wasn't pushing the program as much as he could. I feel like he did, though. I mean, look at some of the names that came out of that program.
He really,
for the years he was there,
he really established a defensive stance, I think, for Utah State, where they got really good on defense.
Yeah, and I think he built the basketball program up in a way that you can still see the effects of today. In fact, I think you could argue that without Stu, USU wouldn't have been able to recruit some of the coaches they've had. And so, again, back to state lawmakers today pointing out two different things state lawmakers were saying. One, the amount of funding you're talking about to compete as far as attracting coaches with the Big Ten, you're talking billions of dollars a year for the universities here in Utah in salary alone for a basketball coach. And that isn't going to be popular with voters. Second thing lawmakers pointing out is, and these are lawmakers who attended USU, there is nothing wrong with where USU sits in this environment. Sure, coaches might only hang out for 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. You aren't going to find many people like Stu Morrill who want to be here a long time. It's not the world that most coaches operate in. And they're going to get offers, and they're going to be dumb to say no to those offers if they're interested in continuing to move through the, quote, channels of coaching. I don't think that takes away from the players. I don't think that takes away from the athletics program. And I feel like this is the first time I've watched a discussion about USU athletics play out online in which I thought, okay, that was a good conversation. So I've linked to some of it on our Facebook page, and I think we should set all this aside and just say, man, what a season for Utah State. It was a good basketball season, and the fans loved it, and that's kind of what should remain a focus, I think. So, all right. On the other side of the news, Utah's gubernatorial race heats up over a tweet from a challenger to incumbent Republican Governor Spencer Cox. Phil Lyman, a state lawmaker running in the Republican nomination contest against Spencer Cox, alongside former GOP Chair Carson Jorgensen, who's kind of playing third on this one, not really campaigning too hard. A tweet from the Lyman campaign over the weekend getting a lot of attention. First from Democrats for what they called an anti-immigrant message from the Lyman campaign. But today, his Republican colleagues on Capitol Hill jumped in. And they didn't have some nice things to say about what Phil Lyman is pushing as a candidate. We'll talk about it, but also what it means for the overall nomination contest at large and for delegates who will get to weigh in first in the Utah GOP convention in April. We'll get to that after these headlines with KVNU's Bill Walter.
Thank you, Jason. KVNU News Time is 5:32. News brought to you by Franklin County Medical Center team. A 37-year-old Nibley man has been arrested on suspicion of downloading child pornography, according to police. Ryan Zabriskie was booked into the Cache County Jail on Thursday after law enforcement raided his home. According to an arrest affidavit, Logan City police officers received a report in December alleging that Zabriskie had saved a pornographic video file to a cloud service from his cell phone. Police were able to track the cell phone number and found 10 additional child pornography files saved to the cloud service. The number was registered to Zabriskie. On March 21st, police served a warrant to Zabriskie's home and took him into custody. During a search of the residence, several electronic devices were seized, including a computer that was logged into a pornographic site. While searching Zabriskie's bedroom, police reportedly found a large number of different articles of young girls and women's underwear as well. Zabriskie was arraigned during a virtual hearing Friday in Logan's 1st District Court. He was charged with 10 counts of sexual exploitation of a minor, a second-degree felony. A 46-year-old man has been identified after officials said he was killed in a wrong-way crash with a bus in Salt Lake City. Jason Musnug of Harriman was driving in a white Chevy pickup truck when he allegedly crashed head-on with the bus carrying 22 Utah State University ROTC cadets. Minor injuries were reported by those on board. Officials responded to southbound I-15, where they said Musnug had been traveling north at about 6:30 Thursday morning. They said Musnug died of his injuries at the scene. It was not immediately known where the pickup truck entered the southbound lanes or how long the vehicle had been traveling against traffic before the crash happened. DPS did not specify if the wrong-way driver warning system had been activated. The crash blocked most southbound lanes and resulted in a 4-hour closure just south of the 600 North freeway entrance. Officials originally report that Musnug was from Riverton, but stated he was from Harriman in an updated press release. And Utah guard Chris Dunn was suspended 2 games, and Houston's Jabari Smith Jr. was banned a game Sunday by the NBA after their fight a night earlier. The two were away from the ball when they began grabbing and shoving each other Saturday with just under 12 minutes remaining in the second quarter of the Rockets' 147-119 victory in Houston over the Jazz. The NBA penalized Dunn for initiating the altercation and throwing a punch and giving him the lengthier punishment. Dunn will sit out a home game tonight against Dallas and Wednesday against San Antonio. Smith will miss Houston's home game against Portland, scheduled for tonight. KBNU News Time is 5:35.
In today's game, the momentum will shift when one team goes on a run. A run. Like the diaper run you made last night? If you're thinking of getting a vasectomy, the healthcare teams at Franklin County Medical Center in Preston are ready. A vasectomy is a highly effective form of contraception. It's a simple procedure with a short recovery time, and a vasectomy means less stress for family planning. Talk to the experts at Franklin County Medical Center in Preston about your vasectomy. Start by visiting fcmc.org today.
ABC News, I'm Chuck Severson. Officers with the Department of Homeland Security raiding the Miami and Los Angeles homes of the music mogul Sean Diddy Combs. Sources tell ABC News it's a human trafficking investigation. In L.A., ABC's Kana Whitworth.
A lawyer for 2 of the alleged victims told us in a statement that they welcome today's law enforcement activity, adding that they hope this is the beginning of a process that will hold Mr. Combs responsible.
Combs denies the allegations. Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu canceled a Washington meeting with members of his war cabinet after the U.S. refused to block a UN resolution calling for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza and the release of all hostages. L.A. Dodgers star Shohei Ohtani speaking out about the illegal gambling and theft charges against his interpreter through a translator.
Ipe has been stealing money from my account and has told lies.
After several incidents, Boeing's Chief David Calhoun says he will retire at year's end. This is ABC News.
KVNU weather for tonight, cloudy, 30% chance of snow showers and rain showers, low in the upper 20s. Chance of snow showers Tuesday morning, then rain and snow showers in the afternoon. High temperature in the mid-40s. It's been to 44 today. It's 38 right now at KVNU. Pesky bugs are going to be wanting to come into your home when it warms up. Logan Extermination will spray once a month around the exterior of your home, April through October. Call Logan Extermination today, 435-752-8450. You can always get more news at CashValleyDaily.com.
Meet me downtown. Meet me in downtown Logan.
This is Kristen Felstead, the owner of The Sportsman at 129 North Main Street. Join us on Saturday, March 30th from 10 to 4 to celebrate the Easter season. Many shops will have Easter specials and Easter treats for your children. Be sure to make a special visit with the Easter Medi on Historic Center Street. Visit logandowntown.org for all the details.
Meet me downtown. Meet me in downtown Logan.
Today's hearing aid technology can improve not only your life, but the lives of the people who care about you. Once again, you'll be able to hear the reason for their laughter and understand conversations. Dr. Paul Danes will customize a hearing improvement program to meet your unique requirements, whatever they are. Call Dr. Danes for an appointment at 753-HERE and let him show you how.
Bring back what you've been missing. Bring back Cache Valley Hearing and Audiology.
Welcome back to KVNU's For the People. The registration is still open for the Northern Utah Spring Runoff Conference. This is the Northwestern Utah Water Users Association, and their annual Spring Runoff Conference is a 2-day event each year that just, you would not find a single event with such a collection of water experts anywhere else. It kicks off tomorrow. Registration link on our Facebook page. You can also just simply search NUWU Spring Runoff Conference 2024. You'll find it there as well. But things kick off tomorrow morning at the Cache County Fairgrounds with opening remarks by Nathan Dowgs, a frequent guest on our show and manager of the Cache Water District. Former county executive and current commissioner of Utah Department of Ag, Craig Butters, will be speaking at 9:15. Sad they only gave Nathan 15 minutes. Nathan probably asked that they only give him 15 minutes, but not sure he's a fan of the spotlight. But 9:30, Burdette Barker, USU assistant professor and extension irrigation specialist, will be speaking about agricultural water optimization technology and state efforts to make that more accessible for farming families that want to adopt it. Nathan will be speaking again at 10 with the Bear River Economic Study. We talked about that with Nathan here on the show a few weeks ago, with Jeannie Simmons a few weeks ago, also a member of the Cache Water District. And Governor Spencer Cox will be speaking tomorrow. He'll host a ceremonial bill signing and then make some remarks at 10:30 a.m. tomorrow at the Cache County Fairgrounds Event Center. Senator Scott Sandel has been invited, but the schedule does not show him as confirmed. But confirmed, Representative Casey Snyder will be speaking about water bills in the legislative session at 11 a.m. tomorrow. And then also a frequent guest here on our show, Great Salt Lake czar. He doesn't like that word. That's why I like to use it. Brian Steed, who's also the executive director of the USU Janet Quinney Lawson Institute for Land, Water, and Air, and is currently serving as the Great Salt Lake Commissioner. That's his actual title. I just like to say czar when he's in the studio. He'll be speaking around 11:15 tomorrow. That's just the morning session. After that, Anna McIntyre of the Land, Water, and Air Institute, Jordan Clayton of Natural Resources Conservation Service, the Snow Survey people here in Utah, And Teresa Wilhelmsen, state of Utah engineer and current director of the Utah Division of Water Rights. So that's just one day. That's day one. On Wednesday, they have Amy Haas, executive director of the Colorado River Authority. Tage Flynn, executive director of Utah Waterways, a big water conservation and education effort that's the state funds. USU President Elizabeth Cantwell will speak on Wednesday. Nathan Doggs again will be a part of breakout sessions in the afternoon on Wednesday. All of this comes with a free lunch, buffet style, and workshops that will play out Wednesday afternoon as well after the speakers wrap up. So a 2-day conference. It is free. Registration is required, and that registration link, I believe, is open only until about 10 p.m. tonight. So this kicks off tomorrow morning at the Cache County Fairgrounds, Cache Valley Event Center, and I'm hoping that they get as much video and audio of this online as possible so people can be a part of this, even if they can't attend tomorrow and Wednesday. It's a pretty big event, so... And they asked me, as I promoted this, that I also give a shout-out to some of their sponsors, Circle B Irrigation, Franson Civil Engineers, CRS Engineers, Sunrise Engineering, and more. So a pretty important event playing out. The Cache Water District, also a sponsor. And, of course, Utah State University and Bear River Water Conservancy District, a sponsor as well. So this is the Northern Utah Water Users Spring Runoff Conference, kicking off tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. at the Cache Valley Event Center at the Fairgrounds. And then on Wednesday, all those events I mentioned for Wednesday, they will take place on USU campus at the Eccles Conference Center on campus for Wednesday's events. So should be pretty big. I'm excited to see what comes out of this. So tourism. I wanted to talk about this. This was a really cool article. We talk about the ripple effect in economics when it comes to Hill Air Force Base here in northern Utah. And when it comes to Hill Air Force Base, I think the only complaint I ever really hear, some people in the Weber County area will complain about the noise from some of those jets coming and going and things like that. There's currently, I believe, a threatened lawsuit from some over the F-35 specifically. It's a bit louder, and they fly in right over that Washington Terrace Ridge, and some residents there have threatened to sue the city. And we'll see where that goes. I don't know how you can sue the city for what the federal government is doing with the Air Force Base, but that's where they're going. But that's the biggest complaint I think I've ever heard. Usually when we talk about the Air Force Base, it's discussion of its positive economic impact in northern Utah. Thousands of jobs, and then even beyond that, and those are the direct jobs, you have these indirect economic benefits known as the ripple effect. And that is the simplest way to understand a ripple effect, as economists understand it, is every person employed either directly by the military or as a contractor there at Hill Air Force Base, or someone who's even just brought in for a few months for a certain project. They're of course employed here in Utah and pay taxes here in Utah, both directly on their paycheck but in all their purchases. But on top of that, they eat lunch, they buy things, they buy clothes, they buy shoes, they go out to movies, they buy theater tickets, they recreate, they buy park passes, they fill their tank with gas. Now, that does mean they're wearing and tearing our roads, and they're using our sewer system and all of that as well. But that is 3 times offset by what they're spending. So even if it isn't a Utah resident, even if it's somebody contracted by Hill Air Force Base and they're only here for a year, their economic contribution to Utah far outweighs by 3 what they cost the state in wear and tear on the infrastructure or use of services within state. That is the ripple effect. People that are here, even for a short period of time, go to restaurants. Ripple effect. So that's my attempt at a definition of what is actually kind of a complex study in economics. I took a class once. Now I'm an expert on the internet. No, this is actually something I've read quite a bit about because it fascinates me, and it's hard to quantify. So how they go about quantifying it has been something I've been interested in for years. So There's my definition of the ripple effect. Why do I bring this up? Because something that I think a lot of us interact with in a more negative way has been assessed as far as ripple effects go, and that is tourism. For a lot of us, tourism means more crowded trails that we grew up being able to kind of claim as our own. Harder times finding a spot for the camping trailer or tent in the canyon, in Logan Canyon these days. Crowded roads in the summertime in the canyons. Crowded roads for other parts of the state in the big ski canyons in the Cottonwood area. A lot more traffic on the roads. Good luck going to Zion National Park in June. Something that, as a small kid, I did with my parents, and I don't remember seeing another person at some of those sites in early June because it was still wet and a bit cool. Now, if you go in early June, yeah, like I say, good luck. It is the way tourism has grown in Utah is just unbelievable, and most of us, I think, talk about it and think about it in the way it negatively impacts our lives. Understandable, because a lot of times tourism means inconvenience for locals. But I'm glad this is out. So I've linked to it on our Facebook page. This was a study done by the Utah Office of Tourism and Film. I really wish they hadn't changed that name. I liked Utah Office of Tourism. I liked Utah Office of Film Incentives. They put them together, and it just sounds weird to me. That's a tangent. Back to the topic. The Utah Office of Tourism and Film actually did some research and study of their own on the ripple effect of tourism. So tourism is a pretty major reason that Utah's southern Utah economies do as well as they do, and a gigantic part of Utah's own recognition of having one of the most solid economies in the western states right now. Recent research by the Kempsey Gardner Institute show that visitors in Utah spent a record of almost $12 billion in Utah between January 1st of 2022 and December 31st of 2022. The most recent year data was available for. That's $12 billion in direct tourism spending, meaning that is $12 billion in a park pass, $12 billion in some sort of reservation at some recreational facility, things like that. That doesn't account for the indirect, the ripple effect, where they went out to eat. They maybe bought some shoes. They went to a movie if they were here for a week. Yes, people do that on vacation. Okay, I'm reaching there. But they finally did the study. And here's what they came up with. Tourism generates close to 99,000 direct travel-related jobs in Utah. That is huge. And that's where the ripple effect we're talking about comes in. When you're talking, the exact number from the Kempsey Gardner Institute, 98,600 travel-related jobs in Utah that would not exist without tourists. That means jobs that are above and beyond what locals can support with our own recreating within state. These are jobs that they could prove were directly a result of the fact that people are traveling from out of state to Utah in the summertime, in the wintertime, skiing, Zion National Park, whatever it is, state parks. These travel-related jobs are estimated to directly bring about $1.37 billion directly to the state just through state and local taxes. So almost $2 billion, or $1.5 billion almost, in just direct contribution to the state through state and local taxes. But that indirect contribution, this is where it gets absolutely mind-blowing. That indirect contribution from tourism, that is these people, so these 98,000 plus jobs that are here in the state because of, that's almost 100,000 people, Utahns and otherwise, because some of these jobs are maybe temporary seasonal workers that come from Arizona or Nevada, and run a kiosk at a park through the summer or something like that. But almost 100,000 jobs in Utah, and every one of those employees goes out and eats lunch, goes out and eats dinner, has to have a place to stay, buys clothes, goes shopping. On their days off, they go to movies. They put gas in their car. They wash their car. All of the things all of the rest of us do throughout our average week that basically makes up all of the economic activity of the state. You're talking 100,000 people doing that here in Utah that wouldn't otherwise be here without tourism. Those 100,000 jobs roughly wouldn't exist without out-of-state tourism. That is huge. So to break this down as a percentage of the economy, when you factor in direct benefit to the state and local taxes, fees at parks, the kickback from the federal government for fees at national parks, factor all this in and then bring in the indirect contribution to these 100,000 jobs and all the people employed at those jobs going out and eating lunch, putting gas in their car, buying clothes, retail shopping and things like that, going to movies. Factor all this together, it is 27% of our economy can be tied directly to tourism. That 27%. Now, this isn't gonna pop into even my head. Despite my sitting here reading all this with my jaw just hitting the floor, I did not expect it to be that big of a part of our economy. I knew it was big. I didn't think it would be 27% of our annual economy as a state. And I'm not claiming that the next time I'm annoyed by the traffic through the canyons or the lack of camping spots or the crowded trails, especially if you head to southern Utah, I'm not going to say that my annoyance of that inconvenience is going to be in any way watered down. I'm not going to be standing there on the trail wishing there weren't so many people to slow me down or ruin my experience personally. And I'm going to be thinking to myself, well, but economic ripple effect. It's not going to cross my mind. I get it. And that's not what I'm trying to say. I'm not saying, okay, everybody, let's learn to love this. No, it's inconvenient. As our own population grows, it's probably going to get worse. At the same time, imagine nearly 30% of our state economy evaporating if we just build a big gate and stopped accepting tourists on a regular seasonable basis. That is 30% less money for schools, 30% less money for roads, 30% less money for fire and police services, 30% less money for teacher salaries, 30% less money for public safety. That is something no state can absorb, and that's unique. Now, the Utah Office of Tourism and Film, of course, is taking credit for this, saying this has been a long-term strategic goal of the state to capitalize on our natural wonders, our beautiful landscapes, our beautiful canyons and rivers, and turn them into I'm paraphrasing here, money-making destination for the benefit of Utahns. These people come, but then they go. And sure, they drive on our roads, use the sewer system, drink our water while they're here, but their economic contribution is 3 times their cost, and then they go back to their state for the rest of the year. That's huge, especially when you're considering looking at the data. Most tourists' time in Utah, this is some other research from Kempsey Gardner Institute, most tourists spend roughly 10 days in Utah, and yet 27% of our economy. Check it out. I've linked to their research on our Facebook page, and that's our show for today. Dave Ramsey is next here on KVNU Logan.
Hey, I'm ABC's Daria Albinger. Gather up your W-2s and your 1099s because it's that time of year again. The tax filing deadline is right around the corner. We've got you covered every step of the way, from getting organized to filing to receiving your refund. We'll bring you advice from accountants, industry insiders, and yes, even the IRS. So join me for tax tips from ABC News now through the filing deadline, right here.
Weekday mornings at 9:50 on News Talk KVNU.
At Evolution Design, crafting custom stone countertops that become the heart of your home is what they do better than anyone. From the initial consultation to the final installation, their team is dedicated to supporting you every step of the way. Their years of experience will help guide you to the perfect product. Whether it's granite, marble, or quartz, the craftsmen at Evolution Design work tirelessly to bring your vision to life. Because home is more than just a place to live. It's where memories are made and shared. Get started at evogranite.com.
Evolution Design, quality set in stone.
Hi, John Weiss here. At Heritage Ford in Tremont, your hometown dealer with the biggest deals, we do things a little differently. We make your car buying experience easy. With our Heritage E-Price, you can be sure you are getting the hometown deal. Come in today for invoice pricing on all new 2024 Ford models and get below invoice pricing on all 2023 models. Come visit your friends at Heritage Ford in Tremont, your hometown dealer with the biggest deals.
It's time to vote in the Best of Northern Utah contest, presented by the Cater Shop Menswear Store. Show some love to your favorite local businesses and cast your vote at thebestofnorthernutah.com. Whether it's your favorite pizza joint, a friendly handyman, or the cleanest car wash in town, we want to know who you think deserves the title of the best. You can vote once per day in multiple categories. Vote now at bestofnorthernutah.com and let your voice be heard.
Best of Northern Utah.
Were you following all the rules, driving sober, obeying the laws, but you were still injured in a car accident by someone who wasn't? This is York, an injury attorney with the Advocates, and I want to help you understand your rights as an accident victim. You pay auto insurance for this purpose, to protect yourself and your family. If you've been injured by a negligent driver, you are entitled to compensation. The injury attorneys at the Advocates are here to help. With no out-of-pocket expenses, you have nothing to lose. Let us be your advocate. Call 801-355-5550 or chat online at utahodvocates.com.
I'm Mike Gavin in for Gordon Deal. Tuesday on This Morning, America's First News. President Biden has a sizable cash advantage over Donald Trump as general election campaigning ramps up, but this isn't doing much to soothe worries from inside the Democratic Party. We'll explain why. Plus, why many women feel like they're seeing fewer opportunities to advance in the workplace, and how doctors can edit the genes inside of your body. All that and more when Gordon returns Tuesday on This Morning, America's First News.
From 4 to 6 on News Talk KVNU, 610 AM and 102 FM. Your station for news and talk.
Victor deployed for the first time to Afghanistan in 2003. He sustained a moderate traumatic brain injury. One of the most important elements of caregiving is taking care of yourself.
For many military veteran caregivers, their caregiving journey starts earlier in life and lasts longer. Visit aarp.org/caregiving for a free military veterans guide to navigate your caregiving journey and better care for your loved one and yourself. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Visit phassociation.org to help provide hope for children with PH. The Pulmonary Hypertension Association, empowered by hope.
When it's happening in Washington, when it's happening on Wall Street.
That's the reason why we're going to continue, because I believe there is a cause here.
News Talk KVNU Logan.